Hi, and welcome back to another video. I thought I'd go ahead and give you a tour of my seed starting station before it gets a little bit more messy and used and loved for the seed starting season. So, like I said in my last video, I've kind of been avidly gardening pretty heavily for the past 5 years, and every year I learn something new about the way that I did things that I want to change for the next year. So, one of the things that really hindered me last year was these grow lights that Caleb got me as a Christmas gift. I think 2 or 3 years ago at this point. They're pretty good. I'm pretty happy with them. My problem was you really need the light to be as close to the seeds as possible for them to germinate properly and not get like leggy, like they're stretching for sunlight. And the way that we had these connected to the shells was just with zip ties because we were trying to figure out how we wanted to long term do that. So since I struggled with that last year, I got these grow light clips this year off of Amazon. And the nice thing is I just like push that button, push that, and I can make the light go lower. And then as my plants grow, I can just pull them back up. So that's one of the things I changed this year and hopefully will be even better. I still use the AeroGarden grow lights even though they can't get lower. I don't have as much trouble with legginess on these, and I think that's just because they're maybe more powerful lights or something of that nature. They do have the ability to get taller, which is neat. But otherwise I don't struggle with them very much. And the thing I like about the AeroGarden lights is I can turn them on one at a time as needed. Whereas my 6 light set here, they're all interconnected. So if I only need one shelf turned on, it doesn't matter, all 3 shelves turn on. Which, when I'm heavy into seed starting station, is definitely not a concern. But when I'm starting in the beginning, like if I'm going to be doing my onions, I really only need one of these lights on. And I will probably do this light because it also is one that has a heat mat. So as far as lights go, you can get, I think the AeroGarden lights when I got them were between $80 and $100. They're a little bit more expensive. I liked the AeroGarden brand just because I use the AeroGarden Gardens, and it was like a well-known respected brand at the time. It's not that they're not respected anymore, but they've gone through some trouble. They actually closed the company, and then I think Amazon bought them, so now they're coming back. But I still utilize their products because I'm a fan of them. I'm not a huge fan of the seed starting stuff. I don't like the plugs. I don't feel like they work super well with the plants, but I'm going to try it again anyway this year. Anyway, what you want is like a full spectrum light. You want to be able to get it close to your seedlings. It doesn't have to be expensive. I think Caleb got me this set of 6 for like $60 maybe more. They're like the Barina brand. But I've seen people just use like shop lights with a bulb that will do a full spectrum light, and those work just fine. So you don't have to be overly expensive, but you do need to make sure you have a full spectrum light that mimics the sunlight for your plants. As far as heat mats go, so I own 3 of them right now. I may get more. I may get one that like covers the whole shelf at some point in my life. I don't know for sure yet. But really, the heat mats only really come in handy when germinating seeds. If you're trying to heat the soil up to get things to germinate, these are really great for that. But once the seed's germinated, I don't use the heat mat anymore. It's really only to aid in germination, and I don't think it's completely necessary for a lot of things. One thing that is necessary is airflow. So you want to make sure your seedlings are being hit with some sort of air source. And the reason for that is it will help when you need to harden off your seeds. Because if you're mimicking what wind will feel like, then they'll have a better chance of being stronger plants than if I were to just grow them on the shelf and then take them outside and I witness wind for the first time. It just really helps with creating stronger seedlings that are able to be hardened off more successfully. And I have struggled a few times with the hardening off process, so I use a fan on every single shelf. I've seen people just put like a fan that blows on all of their shelves, and that works just fine for them. I did not invest in any sort of expensive big fan. I just got these black ones off Amazon. They were like, I don't know, 2 for $12 or something when I first found them. I have not found them that cheap again, but that's kind of what I use. And like this one is a super cheap one that just is USB driven. The other thing that I do to help with costs and or easiness for me is I got these Casa light strips for myself. The thing I like about those is I can program when to turn them on and off, because neither of these lights include like brains that would know when to turn them off. So again, that's not really necessary, but I have found that to be super helpful when I really only want the lights on for 14 to 15 hours a day and not 24/7, and or means I have to run up and down the stairs to turn them on and off. So I utilize those smart switches. I basically have the app on my phone. I have them all set to a schedule, and I even have my like cords labeled as to what that plug is, so I know what to name the plug in the app. So that's just kind of like something I've done to make my life a lot easier and have more success with the lights. I also invest in different types of, I'm pointing and not showing the camera, different types of seed starting trays. So I started out just buying the cheap like Jiffy tray humidity dome, and has like the really cheap pots in it, and those are perfectly fine. But what I found for me personally is those trays are so flimsy, so when I would be carrying them up and down the stairs, I would break them or crack them or something like that. So Lowe's put out these like more reinforced trays. I think I started getting those 2 years ago, and they're just sturdier and I love them more. And I started expanding into other sources of seed trays. So like this one right here is from Gardener Supply. It's called a Grow Ease Kit, and it's got this nice strong tray, nice bottom tray, and it actually has like a capillary mat in the bottom to help with keeping your seeds moist. I don't think that it's necessary, but I thought that it would be neat to try and see if I have more success with certain things. So as you grow your own seeds and you play around, you'll find what works for you and what doesn't. I still also like, I'll pull these down. These are super dirty, so I do need to clean them out before I use them, but I bought these for cheap off of Amazon one time, and they basically are a self-contained system. They're a 6 tray with a bottom, and then they have humidity domes that come with them. I still use those because one of the things I learned too my first year of growing is like, if I were to fill this up with small enough, seed starting pots, that would be like 72 plants I could probably fit on there. But I don't need to grow 72 types of the same sort of thing. So I tried by doing like, I don't know, here's a row of lettuce, here's a row of broccoli, here's a row of peppers. And the problem with that is they all need different things in order to germinate well. And if I put them all in the same tray, they're going to grow and need different things at different times, and that caused me problems. So over the years, I have learned it's better to keep like things in your seed starting practice. Don't do peppers and tomatoes in the same tray you're doing broccoli and cauliflower, which frankly you shouldn't be growing them at the same time anyway, but just saying, those are things that you want to keep in mind. So you can do it super basically, by just having some sort of source of bottom watering. I've even used a cookie tray from time to time if I ran out of trays. You just need something to put your soil in to be able to do your seeds. And then the humidity dome, that's the other thing that, I mean, I guess if you're trying to do it really cheaply, you don't need one, but I have found that I have less success when I don't use a humidity dome to get my seedlings to start. But the only time you need a humidity dome is when you are trying to get your plants to germinate. Once all of the seeds have germinated, you take that humidity dome off and you're done. That's the only time you need it for. So once the plants have all popped up, that's it. I started this last year, my tote. That is full of potting soil, so I should be able to at least get some stuff started. I have found that just made my whole life easier. I was keeping it in the bag and then putting a little bit at a time into a bowl. Whereas if I have this tote, I can keep the soil there. I have a shovel and I just shovel it out, put it in whatever I need. I can fill the pots over top and it doesn't make a mess, so on and so forth. So not necessary, but like really helpful. I also have like a little organizer for my gardening tools, like garden markers. I've got a box cutter there for winter sowing because I'm going to be doing that, and just other extraneous garden stuff within there. I also try to keep containers because since I'm in my basement, in order to put water into my seed trays, I would need to run upstairs, fill something, come down here. So I started this where I just kind of take old milk cartons and I fill it up with water, and I use that water to then water my seeds. And then this one that's kind of discolored actually has like a fertilizer in it. It's labeled fertilizer. So that way I know this is like enriched water. I've got some like vermiculite and stuff supplies in here. And I use that when it's like a flower seed that germinates using light. So if you sprinkle the seeds on top, you put a little vermiculite and that helps that. Things like alyssum and pansies. I also have 2 containers. This potting soil mix container, it actually should say indoor potting mix because that's what that is. And then this is like my seed starting mix if I need that. When we have been buying cat litter for our cats all these years, this is the kind we used to buy. We don't anymore, but we kept a lot of these containers because they're super helpful for things in the garden and such. And then there's all of my seeds. I basically have it separated by most used vegetables, second use, and then that's all flowers. So, but yeah. So this is kind of like my seed starting station for the year. One of the things I did add this year when cleaning up my space, go through the curtain here, that's my cat. I have this, yes, Abby. I have this old greenhouse that I used to use when I first started starting seeds, but I don't use it any longer. So now I use it for additional storage. So I have like fertilizers in here. I have my ranunculus and seed onions, yes. And just other supplies like that in this area that I use occasionally. And I actually added, this is our old dining room table, like when we first moved that we inherited from somewhere else. And that's like an old piece to a desk we used to own that we got rid of. And I actually added this as like an extra station for my gardening stuff. So I have like another AeroGarden someone got me that I haven't used yet. I'm planning to this year. I have magazines that I've kept because I keep telling myself I'm going to do something with them and I haven't. And old books. Just like a workspace if I need to do something over here. And then this is my dahlia tubers that are overwintering in the house. These are my mother's. We keep them in the basement even though that's not the most ideal. I just have to keep a close eye on them. And then I have all of my extra pots and such under there that will have to be pulled out soon in order to start my seed starting. But yeah, so that's my little station I've got going on here. What I plan on using for any of my indoor seed starting along with my greenhouse outside. Also, I guess just to say, if anyone's wondering why I have a greenhouse if I'm still starting seeds inside, that's because my greenhouse is not like heated or anything like that. So it's more like a season extender versus an actual greenhouse. And it's kind of there for some form, but, or a lot of form, I guess, and some function. It's an odd shape. Like if I were actually trying to have a real greenhouse, I don't think a hexagon shape is the most ideal use of space, but it's a beautiful piece of art and I do utilize it a lot. I've got my strawberries in there overwintering right now and I plan to start some seeds out there. But I kind of need the inside space to still grow some things because it keeps things a little bit more temperature controlled. So yes, I have a greenhouse. No, I'm not really avidly using it to start seeds, but anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for watching.